The research vessel Nexus 7 hung silently in Earth's orbit, its advanced cloaking systems rendering it invisible to human detection technology. Inside, lead researcher Zewextal's crystalline appendages trembled with excitement as they reviewed the latest observation data from their study of humanity. Most peculiar, they muttered, their translucent form shifting through shades of purple and blue. Subject 274, designation James Anderson, has been awake for approximately 47 Earth hours, sustained only by what they call coffee and determination. The observation chamber hummed with activity as various alien researchers monitored different aspects of human behavior. Their mission, initially planned as a routine survey of potentially sentient species, had turned into the most fascinating study in the Galactic Scientific Academy's history. Researcher Zewextal called out Assistant Observer on Thursday, their gelatinous form rippling with urgency. "You need to see this." Subject 274 is still working on the mechanical transport device, despite suffering multiple minor injuries and showing clear signs of exhaustion. Zewextal glided over to the observation screen, their crystalline structure refracting light in patterns that indicated deep confusion. The human, James Anderson, was indeed still working on his vintage automobile, despite bleeding from several cuts on his hands and having dark circles under his eyes. "Send in a microprobe," Zewextal ordered. "I want detailed biological readings." The data that streamed back confused them even more. The human stress hormones were elevated, fatigue toxins flooded their system, yet their brain showed patterns of determination and even enjoyment. "Impossible," Zewextal whispered. "According to all known biological principles, this human should have ceased activity hours ago. Their species requires regular rest cycles, yet they consciously override this need. For what purpose?" Project Satisfaction suggested on Thursday, consulting their data streams. "They appear to derive pleasure from completing self-imposed challenges." The research team watched in fascination as James finally got the engine to roar to life. The human's face broke into a wide smile, and despite their exhaustion, they performed what the researchers had come to recognize as a victory dance. "Note this in the primary observation log," Zewextal commanded. Humans possess the ability to override their biological imperatives through sheer force of will, particularly when pursuing goals they deem personally significant. This trait appears to be coupled with an emotional reward system that encourages such potentially harmful behavior. As they continued their observation, James climbed into the vehicle and began driving it around his property, despite the late hour and his obvious need for rest. The aliens watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as he called someone on his communication device. "Hey Tom. Got the old girl running finally. Want to come over and see her?" "Yeah, I know it's 3 a.m. So what? This is worth staying up for." Zewextal's crystalline form flickered with disbelief. "They're propagating the behavior to others of their species." Add another note, humans appear to be socially contagious with their disregard for biological necessities. The research team continued their observation as a second human arrived, and both proceeded to spend another 2 hours examining the vehicle, despite both showing clear signs of exhaustion. "What I find most perplexing," Ren Thursday observed, "is that both subjects have work obligations in less than 4 hours, yet they show no concern for their compromised rest cycles." Zewextal absorbed this information, their form shifting to a deep shade of contemplation. "Perhaps this is why their species has advanced so rapidly. They appear to have evolved beyond the basic constraints of their biology, pushing past physical limitations through sheer mental force." As the night progressed, the research team documented countless similar instances across their global observation network, humans staying awake to care for young, to complete work projects, to create art, or simply because they were engrossed in what their species called binge-watching. "Prepare a preliminary report for the High Council," Zewextal instructed. "Highlight the following: human species demonstrates unprecedented ability to override biological imperatives. This trait appears universal across their population and may explain their rapid technological and cultural advancement despite their relatively short species history. Before Zhuangtal could continue, another observer called out. Lead researcher. We're detecting similar patterns in a group of humans attempting to establish a new settlement on their Mars colony. They've been working for 72 hours straight to repair a vital atmospheric processor. Fascinating, Zhuangtal responded, their crystalline form brightening with interest. They apply this same characteristic to species survival scenarios. Add this to the report. Humans not only override biological imperatives for personal goals but appear to do so even more readily when their actions benefit their larger community. As the Earth rotated below them, Zhuangtal realized they had only begun to scratch the surface of understanding this remarkable species. Their apparent defiance of natural limitations would need to be studied in much greater detail. Schedule additional observation teams, they ordered. We need to understand how deep this trait goes. And someone please explain to me how this coffee substance factors into all of this. The Nexus 7 continued its silent vigil, its crew of alien researchers growing increasingly amazed by the species that seemed to treat their own biological limits as mere suggestions rather than rules. These readings cannot be accurate, Ren Thursday insisted, their gelatinous form rippling with agitation. No species can experience such vivid sensory input while in a dormant state. Zhuangtal reviewed the dream monitoring data for the 15th time. Their crystalline structure pulsed with soft blue light as they analyzed the neural patterns of their sleeping test subjects. The humans had finally succumbed to their need for rest, but what they discovered during these sleep cycles was even more perplexing than their waking behavior. Run the analysis again, Zhuangtal commanded. Focus on subject 274's neural activity. James Anderson lay sleeping in his bed, completely unaware that his dreams were causing such a stir among the alien researchers. His brain activity spiked in patterns that seemed impossible, creating entire worlds, stories, and scenarios while his body recovered from his marathon car repair session. Look at this, first neural analyst Vyxna called out, their vapor forms swirling excitedly. During this rest cycle, the subject is simultaneously experiencing sensations of flight, solving complex mathematical equations, and composing what humans call music. All while their conscious mind is inactive. The research team had expected to find humans in a simple state of biological repair during their rest cycles. Instead, they discovered that human minds seem to become even more active during sleep, albeit in different ways. What's more concerning, Ren Thursday added, is that some humans are actively trying to control these dream states. They call it lucid dreaming. They're attempting to master even their unconscious states. Zhuangtal moved to another monitoring station, where they observed a human artist who had fallen asleep at her workspace. The woman, Reina Patel, had been creating a sculpture for 20 hours straight before finally collapsing from exhaustion. But her brain scans showed she was still working on the piece in her dreams, solving design problems and visualizing new approaches. Record this in the secondary observation log, Zhuangtal instructed. Humans appear to have evolved a parallel processing system during their rest cycles. Rather than simply performing biological maintenance, they continue to create, solve problems, and even experience recreational scenarios during sleep. The team's attention was suddenly drawn to another monitor, where they observed a group of humans in what they called a sleep study lab. Scientists were monitoring other human sleep patterns, trying to understand their own sleep mechanics. They're studying themselves, Vyxna noted, their vaporous form condensing slightly in confusion. The level of self-awareness required to. Vyxna's observation was interrupted by an alert from another monitoring station. James Anderson was waking up, despite having only slept for 4 hours. The team watched as he jolted awake, grabbed a notebook, and began frantically writing. Neural scan indicates he experienced a problem-solving breakthrough during his sleep cycle, Ren Thursday reported. He appears to have resolved the mechanical issue that was preventing his vehicle's optimal performance, while unconscious. Zwextal's crystalline form shimmered with excitement. Are you saying that humans not only continue to process information during sleep but can actually solve problems more effectively in this state? Affirmative, Ren Thursday confirmed. Their neural pathways appear to form new connections during rest cycles, allowing for creative solutions that elude them during conscious thought. The research team watched as James rushed to his garage, still in his sleep clothes, and began implementing the solution he had dreamed about. Within an hour, the mechanical problem that had frustrated him for weeks was resolved. Update the report to the High Council, Zwextal ordered. Include the following: human sleep cycles appear to serve multiple functions beyond basic biological maintenance. Their minds continue to process complex problems, create abstract concepts, and even experience simulated scenarios during rest. This may explain their species' remarkable creativity and problem-solving capabilities. As they continued their observation, they noticed something else peculiar. Reina Patel had also awakened and was rapidly sketching new designs for her sculpture, directly inspired by her dreams. In her sleep-deprived state, she had somehow accessed a new level of creativity that even she hadn't anticipated. Another fascinating pattern, Vyxna observed. Humans appear to be most creative and innovative when operating at the boundaries of their consciousness, either through extreme fatigue or during their sleep cycles. Zwextal absorbed this information, their crystalline structure briefly shifting to a deep purple of contemplation. Perhaps what we initially perceived as a biological weakness, their need for regular rest cycles, is actually one of their greatest strengths. They've evolved to use these dormant periods for higher-level cognitive functions. The team continued their observations as more humans around the globe awakened, many grabbing notebooks or devices to record their dreams, some immediately beginning to create art or music inspired by their sleep experiences, others solving problems that had eluded them during waking hours. One more note for the report, Zwextal added. Human consciousness appears to exist on multiple levels simultaneously. Their ability to process information and create even while unconscious suggests a complexity we had not previously considered possible in a biological species. As the research vessel Nexus 7 continued its orbit, its crew began to understand that human sleep, far from being a simple biological necessity, was yet another example of how this species had turned an apparent limitation into an advantage. The question now was, what other surprises would they discover as they delved deeper into the study of human consciousness? Lead researcher, they're detecting unprecedented levels of neurochemical activity in Subject 274, announced medical observer Kwx Lee, their bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with concern. By all accounts, these hormone levels should be causing severe biological distress, yet the subject appears happy. Zwextal shifted their attention to the main observation screen. James Anderson was in what humans called a hospital, holding a tiny, wrinkled creature that had emerged from his sister's body mere hours ago. The amount of oxytocin, dopamine, and other emotional chemicals flooding his system was off the charts. Cross-reference with other subjects experiencing similar events, Zwextal ordered. Their crystalline form sparkled with curiosity as data streamed across multiple screens. Confirmed pattern, Ren Thursday reported, their gelatinous form rippling with excitement. Humans regularly experience hormone levels that would incapacitate most known species. But instead of causing distress, these chemical floods appear to strengthen their social bonds. The research team watched as James cradled his newborn niece, tears streaming down his face while he smiled, another uniquely human contradiction that had puzzled the observers. His sister, exhausted from the birthing process, showed similarly elevated hormone levels as she watched her brother with the infant. Note this, Zwextal instructed. Humans appear to use what should be stress responses as bonding mechanisms. They're literally using biology that evolved for survival to create and strengthen social connections. The observation chamber hummed with activity as researchers monitored similar scenarios across the globe. They watched as humans gathered for what they called a graduation ceremony, where proud parents displayed the same hormone patterns as those experiencing intense physical exertion. They observed crowds at sporting events sharing synchronized emotional responses, their biological patterns aligning in ways that defied scientific explanation. Lead researcher, called out emotional analyst Wixra, their plasmaform flickering rapidly, "You need to see this. Remember Reina Patel, the artist? She's destroying her sculpture." The team shifted their attention to Reina's studio, where she was indeed breaking apart the piece she had spent days creating. Her emotional readings were chaotic, frustration, determination, and excitement all mixed together. "I don't understand," Ren Thursday admitted. "She invested significant resources in this creation. Why destroy it?" They watched as Reina immediately began reconstructing the sculpture in a new form, her movements decisive and passionate. Her hormone levels indicated what humans called inspiration, another complex emotional state that seemed to drive them to create, destroy, and recreate with equal intensity. "Add this to the observation log," Zwyxtal commanded. "Humans appear to derive emotional satisfaction not just from achievement, but from the process of striving itself. They intentionally create obstacles to overcome, seemingly for the emotional reward of conquering them." The team's attention was suddenly drawn to a new alert. James Anderson had left the hospital and was now at his workplace, despite having not slept for over 20 hours. Impossible. Medical observer Kwexley's bioluminescent tendrils flashed in alarm. The human's bone was broken less than 6 weeks ago. They cannot possibly be engaging in strenuous physical activity already. The research team watched in astonishment as James Anderson climbed back onto his motorcycle for the first time since his accident. His doctors had predicted 3 months of recovery, but here he was, defying medical expectations once again. "Their healing capabilities continue to surpass our understanding," Zwyxtal noted, their crystalline structure pulsing with excitement. "But what's more remarkable is their determination to push beyond normal recovery parameters." The observation screens showed multiple instances of humans recovering from injuries or illness at rates that defied conventional biological understanding. Athletes returning to competition months ahead of schedule, accident victims walking despite predictions of permanent paralysis, elderly humans regaining functionality after severe health setbacks. "New data incoming," announced physical systems analyst Mix Vor, their energy form crackling. Subject Reina Patel is participating in what they call a marathon despite never having attempted this distance before. The team shifted their focus to watch as Reina pushed through what their sensors indicated was significant physical distress. Her body was sending clear signals to stop, yet she continued, drawing on some reserve of strength that their instruments couldn't quite quantify. "Note this paradox," Zwyxtal instructed. "Humans appear to have developed the ability to override not just their fatigue responses, but their very pain signals when sufficiently motivated." They observed as both James and Reina, miles apart but connected by this shared human trait, pushed their bodies beyond what should have been their limits. James, still healing, worked on a new mechanical project, while Reina, despite her exhaustion, pressed on toward her marathon finish line. "Most fascinating," Ren Thursday commented, their gelatinous form rippling thoughtfully. "They seem to view physical limitations as challenges rather than warnings." The research team continued to monitor similar patterns across the globe, humans recovering from injuries through sheer determination, athletes breaking what were thought to be absolute physical limits, individuals adapting to extreme environments through what appeared to be force of will as much as biological adaptation. "Update the physiological analysis," Zwyxtal ordered. "Humans possess not just remarkable healing capabilities, but an unprecedented ability to push beyond their physical limitations through psychological means." As they watched, they began to understand that human physical resilience wasn't just about their biology, it was inextricably linked to their emotional and mental capabilities. Their bodies weren't just healing, they were adapting, evolving in real time through sheer determination. The observation chamber of the Nexus 7 was unusually quiet as Zwyxtal prepared their final report for the High Council. After months of studying human behavior, they had reached conclusions that would fundamentally change their understanding of intelligent life. Begin recording, ZYXTAL commanded, their crystalline form glowing with a steady, determined light. Final report on human species study, classification, priority 1. The report began to take shape on the main screen. Humans represent a unique form of intelligent life, defying our traditional categories and understanding. Their seemingly contradictory nature, simultaneously fragile and resilient, logical and emotional, individual and collective, is not a weakness, but rather the source of their remarkable adaptability and advancement. Key findings indicate that humans have evolved beyond simple biological imperatives. They routinely override physical limitations through psychological means, process information during sleep cycles, and utilize emotional states as sophisticated social bonding and problem-solving tools. Our subjects, particularly James Anderson and Raina Patel, demonstrated these traits consistently. Anderson's recovery and continued innovation despite physical setbacks, and Patel's artistic achievements and physical endurance, exemplify the species' characteristic determination and creativity. Most significantly, humans appear to thrive on challenges, actively seeking out difficulties to overcome. This trait, combined with their complex emotional processing and social bonding mechanisms, has resulted in a species that continuously pushes beyond perceived limitations. Recommendation: immediate reclassification of human species to Category A sentient beings, with special notation regarding their unique capabilities. Traditional contact protocols may need revision, as standard approaches may underestimate human adaptability and resilience. Additional recommendation: consideration for potential alliance and knowledge exchange, with careful attention to their remarkable problem-solving capabilities and emotional intelligence. As ZYXTAL concluded the report, the observation screens showed their human subjects continuing their daily lives, James teaching others about his mechanical innovations, Raina starting a new artistic project, both of them connecting with others and pushing boundaries in their own ways. Final notation, ZYXTAL added. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of humans is not any single trait, but their ability to combine seemingly contradictory characteristics into a cohesive whole. They are not merely surviving, they are continuously evolving through sheer force of will. End report. The Nexus 7's engines hummed to life as they prepared to break orbit. Below them, Earth continued its rotation, its inhabitants unaware they had just been reclassified as one of the most fascinating species in the known galaxy. Should we maintain observation protocols? Ren Thursday asked. ZYXTAL's form shifted through a rainbow of thoughtful colors before settling on a bright, determined blue. No. The time for observation is over. The next step is preparation. Something tells me we'll be hearing from them sooner than our models predicted. As the research vessel disappeared into the depths of space, James Anderson looked up at the night sky, feeling an inexplicable urge to reach for the stars. In her studio, Raina Patel began a new sculpture, one that seemed to capture something both alien and deeply human. Neither of them knew that they had just helped change the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. But then again, that's what humans did best, achieving the impossible without even realizing it was supposed to be impossible in the first place.